Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Disciples, we're doing the Bhagavatam, the second.
Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada, Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Please accept my humble services with all glory to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. Today's Srimad Bhagavatam session will begin with Canto 2, Chapter 4, Verse 14. Is that right? I wrote it down so many times.
We're still on the prayers, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tatu Jayamudirayet. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Nara Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prasyev Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Yumat Yautama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Vayam tuna vitripyama Uttama shloka vikrame yatrini vatam rasajnanam svadu svadu pade pade. We never tire of hearing the transcendental pastimes of the personality of Godhead, who is glorified by hymns and prayers. Those who have developed a taste for transcendental relationships with him relish hearing of his pastimes at every moment. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 4, Text 14. Namo namaste stu shratpayas satvatam vidura kastaya.
タヤムククヨジナム
Nirasta samyasti sayena radasa svadamani brahmani ramsyate namaha. Translation. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto he who is the associate of the members of the Yadu dynasty and who is always a problem for the non-devotees. He is the supreme enjoyer of both the material and spiritual worlds, yet he enjoys his own abode in the spiritual sky. There is no one equal to him because his transcendental opulence is immeasurable. Now we will go on with the purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Jai. There are two sides of the transcendental manifestations of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. For the pure devotees, he is the constant companion, as in the case of his becoming one of the family members of the Yadu dynasty, or his becoming the friend of Arjuna, or his becoming the associate neighbor of the inhabitants of Vrindavana, as the son of Nanda Yashoda, the friend of Sudama, Sri Rama, and Madhu Mangala, or the lover of the damsels of Vajrabhumi, etc. That is part of his personal features. And by his impersonal feature, he expands the rays of the Brahma Jyoti, which is limitless and all-pervasive. Part of this all-pervasive Brahma Jyoti, which is compared to the sun rays, is covered by the darkness of the Mahat Tattva, and this insignificant part is known as the material world. In this material world, there are innumerable universes like the one we can experience, and in each of them, there are hundreds of thousands of planets like the one we are inhabiting. The mundaners are more or less captivated by the unlimited expansion of the rays of the Lord, but the devotees are concerned more with his personal form, from which everything is emanating, Janmadi Asya Yata. As the sun rays are concentrated in the sun disk, the Brahma Jyoti is concentrated in Goloka Vrindavana, the topmost spiritual planet in the spiritual sky. The immeasurable spiritual sky is full of spiritual planets named Vaikunthas, far beyond the material sky. The mundaners have insufficient information of even the mundane sky, so what can they think of the spiritual sky? Therefore, the mundaners are always far, far away from him. Even if in the future they are able to manufacture some machine whose speed may be accelerated to the velocity of the wind or the mind, the mundaners will still be unable to imagine reaching the planets in the spiritual sky. So the Lord and his residential abode will always remain a myth or a mysterious problem, but for the devotees, the Lord will always be available as an associate. In the spiritual sky, his opulence is immeasurable. The Lord resides in all the spiritual planets, the innumerable Vaikuntha planets, by expanding his plenary portions along with his liberated devotee associates. But the impersonalists who want to merge in the existence of the Lord are allowed to merge as one of the spiritual sparks of the Brahma Jyoti. They have no qualifications for becoming associates of the Lord, either the Vaikuntha planets or in the supreme planet Goloka Vrindavana, described in the Bhagavad Gita as Madama, and here in this verse as the Svadama of the Lord. This Madama, or Svadama, is described in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verse 6, as follows. Natad Bayasate Suryo Na Shashanko Na Pavaka Yad Gatvana Nivartante Tadama Paramam Mama. The Lord's Svadama does not require any sunlight or moonlight or electricity for illumination. That Dhamma or place is supreme, and whoever goes there never comes back to this material world. The Vaikuntha planets and the Goloka Vrindavana, our planet, are all self-illuminating, and the rays scattered by those Svadama of the Lord constitute the existence of the Brahma Jyoti, as further confirmed in the Vedas, like the Muktaka, Kata, and Svatara Upanishads. Na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam Nema vidyutu banti kutuyam agni. Tam eva bantam anubati sarvam. Tasya basha sarvam idam vibhati. In the Svadama of the Lord, there is no need of sun, moon, or stars for illumination, nor is there need of electricity, so what to speak of ignited lamps? On the other hand, it is because those planets are self-illuminating that all effulgence has become possible, and whatever there is that is dazzling is due to the reflection of that Svadama. One who is dazzled by the effulgence of the impersonal Brahma Jayoti cannot know the personal transcendence. Therefore, in the Ishopanishad 15, it is prayed that the Lord shift his dazzling effulgence so that the devotee can see the real reality. It is spoken thus: Hiran Mayena Patrena Satyasyat Pihitam Mukam Tatvam Pushan Aparvirinu Satya Dharmaya Duristaye. O Lord, you are the maintainer of everything, both material and spiritual, and everything flourishes by your mercy. Your devotional service, or bhakti yoga, is the actual principle of religion, Satya Dharma, and I am engaged in that service. So kindly protect me by showing your real face. Please, therefore, remove the veil of your Brahma Jayoti rays so that I can see your form of eternal bliss and knowledge. Going back to repeat the verse, which is Canto 2, Chapter 4, Text 14. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto he who is the associate of the members of the Yadu dynasty and who is always a problem for the non-devotees. He is the supreme enjoyer of both the material and spiritual worlds, yet he enjoys his own abode in the spiritual sky. There is no one equal to him because his transcendental opulence is immeasurable. Wow. This is very intense. The first thing that strikes me, of course, before we get to the comments of Srila Prabhupada, is that it mentions, the translation mentions that that Krishna is always a problem for the non-devotees. So, as Srila Prabhupada mentions, though, there are many planets, the spiritual planets are illuminated by the Svadama of the Lord, right? By the essence of the Lord, which we can refer to, I guess, as the Brahma Jayoti, which many people are able to come into touch with, although it is incomplete. It does draw many people into the spiritual life. So this is important because his transcendental opulence is immeasurable. In other words, God is present everywhere, all the time, everywhere. And some can only perceive of him as this Brahma Jayoti, or this light that illuminates the spiritual planets. But God himself is more than just this light. In order for us to understand that, we have to continue to study, because maybe we all come from the conception of the energy of the Lord, because this is so prevalent in society and in all the religions. And like as we spoke last week, if God is really one, then all people in all religions are having some kind of view of God. But for the non-devotees, it's difficult for them to conceive of him as Krishna, as somebody who's actually taken birth in one of the dynasties and come to the earth in order to further knowledge, by showing us through his pastimes and through the things that we learn from his pastimes, that he is indeed God, and that the path back to Godhead is through our devotional service. So having said all of that, as quite quickly trying to summarize what I just read. I would like to open up the discussion for the next one who would like to add.
I can say something unless Govinda is really dying to speak.
No, please.
I the first thing that stuck out to me in this translation is the same thing that stuck out to you, Yamuna, that the Lord is always a problem for non-devotees. And I think it's because I've often heard Prabhupada say this in relation to Nishingadev. You know, I'm in Nishingadev consciousness right now because all my friends in the US were watching that movie Mahavatar Nishimha, you know, going to the movie, and then it wasn't available here. And so I kept hearing about how awesome this movie was. And, you know, it's not very often that we get a movie that's like, you know, about Krishna consciousness that we can go see. Most of the movies are like you know, they're just like degrading. So but I did find out that it's gonna be available on Netflix, I think today. So Yamuna, if you got a Netflix account or any friends, you can watch it there. But anyway, yeah, so Prabhupada also said this in relation to Nishingadev. But that he's always a problem for the non-devotees, but you know, for the devotees, they don't fear any of these features of the Lord. You know, we see that you know, whether it's the nice sweet feature of Krishna or his fearsome feature, they're not really afraid of it. And then also Prabhupada goes into this purport to talk about um the Brahma Jyoti feature, which you know, I've been reading a lot about because I'm studying Chaitanya Charitamrita right now. And I was in the Chaitanya Charitamrita class yesterday, and it was also discussing the Brahma Jyoti almost verbatim for what is mentioned here in this first paragraph. And one of the things that the teacher was talking about in this class is how every illumination within this material world is also like a reflection of the Brahma Jyoti. Even the sun coming up in the morning and things like this is that reflection. And so this Brahma Jyoti is all pervasive. And and many people are attracted to it. You know, they want to go into this Brahma Jyoti. But the devotee is thinking, how great can it actually be if even demons that Krishna kills get to go to this Brahma Jyoti? And so I was thinking about that as well when Yamuna was reading. And so this is one of the reasons why the devotees, you know, they aren't really attracted to going to this all pervasive Brahma Jyoti, because you know, even the demons Krishna kills gets to go there, and there's no actual loving relationship. But still, what the last thing I found that was so awesome about this purport is even just thinking about it, thinking about the all pervasive aspect of it, it helps us really, you know, meditate on Krishna, because any luminous object that we see in this world, we can remember Krishna in that way. But also, Prabhupada mentions here that the spiritual sky, these planets are self-effulgent, they don't need any lights. And often for me, you know, I forget uh, how dark this planet actually is. If you're out in the country at nighttime and you're walking, you can't even see like your hand in front of your face. But we forget that, or I often forget that, because I don't you know, I don't live out in like really rural areas, or well, I am kind of in a rural area now, but we have streetlights and things like that. But even I've noticed when the power goes out here, which happens very often, you walk out and I can't see anything, you know, like, and I'm just like, wow, you know, this really is Krishna's mercy that that we're even able to see things in this material world. Krishna, you know, he really is providing all of this for us, because without that, you know, like we would just be in total darkness. And you often hear of this material world described as darkness. So, when you get away from all the artificial lights, you can really have that experience. This is quite a long report, but this is just a couple realizations I had. I'll open it up for anybody else who wants to add something.
Govinda?
Okay, yeah. Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my respectful obeisances. I'll push to Srila Prabhupada. It's interesting that Nrsingadev was brought up. Cassandra, a friend of hers, has just sent her like this kirtan. That was for Nrsinga Maha Abhishek about a year ago. And she's just been playing it over and over. So there's Nrsingadev again. So I guess, and then Nrsingadev got brought up again today. So I guess he's trying to tell me something maybe. As far as Brahma Jyoti goes, and we're speaking about the people that go to the Brahma Jyoti, I read something interesting the other day. I think it was in Message of Godhead, that Srila Prabhupada says that there's two classes of Paramahamsas. And my thinking was that Paramahamsa means devotee, and it's the highest devotee. It's like the best of the devotees. And that's what I thought Paramahamsa was. But in the book, he wrote that there's two classes, that there is the personal Paramahamsa, which is the devotee, but then impersonalists can also be considered Paramahamsas, that they, on the impersonal side of the transcendental platform or transcendental spiritual practice, that they've reached that level of perfection, and that's what qualified them to go into the Brahma Jyoti. And so they can actually still be considered Paramahamsas. But of the two, he says the better is the personal, the one who wants to relate with Krishna in his personal feature. But I guess talking about it now makes me think about how even going to the Brahma Jyoti, how that it's not something very easy to get to merge into Krishna's effulgence, that you have to practice such severe austerities and for a long time to be able to qualify yourself to even go to Krishna's light, his effulgence, merge with that. Even though it's not considered the highest, it's still very difficult to even do that. And so here we are talking about Krishna's own spiritual abode, his Vaikuntha planets, and then Goloka Vrindavan. So how it's difficult to go to relate with Krishna, but at the same, it's difficult, but it's very simple. And we're reading the Brihad. I just started reading the Brihad Bhagavatamrita with the group, and in one of the purports, it was talking about how the whole premise of Brihad Bhagavatamrita is there's two sides of it. There's Narada Muni, who is searching out who the best of the devotees is. That's one part of it, where he's going from devotee to find out who is the best of the devotees. And then the second part is the story of Gopakumara and how his progress from like a layman, I guess you could say, like an ordinary jiva, to reaching the highest levels of prema, and what his journey is like. And so we're still reading the invocation prayers, but in one of the purports, it talks about how, or actually no, actually not even in the purport, I think it's in like the preface or the foreword, it talks about how how is it possible for an ordinary person, at least like me, an ordinary person like me, to be able to read about Krishna's spiritual abode, and then further on top of that, how could it be possible for an ordinary person like me to even reach Krishna's spiritual abode? And I remember reading that question and just thinking, and it just kind of shaking me a little bit, thinking that, yeah, you know what, that's true. That, man, I feel so far away just from reading that question. Before, for some reason, before reading the question, I guess just because of hearing hearing and reading, maybe taking things a little bit for granted. But then for some reason, when I read that question, it made me feel that distance. It made me feel very far from Krishna and very far from Goloka Vrindavan. And so just a humbling experience. But the nice thing was that another devotee, he um, he brought up a very nice point that helped me, was that through Krishna's devotees and his mercy, we might feel far from Krishna. It might be like our humility that we feel very far from Krishna, very far from Goloka Vrindavan. But one side of it could be that it's because we don't understand how to feel close to Krishna. So it's not that we're so fallen, and I mean some, yeah, it's not just that. It's not just that we're so fallen and this and that, but there also could be this ignorance or confusion about how to relate with Krishna and how to feel close to him. And so this devotee was explaining that. And then he even expanded about how to feel close to Krishna. Here's an example. In that book, it's Srila Sanatana Goswami offering obeisances. But today, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's Srila Shukadeva Goswami offering obeisances. And so the devotee was highlighting that this is how you feel close to Krishna, how you can see that Srila Sanatana Goswami, before getting into the pastimes or the story and everything, he's offering obeisances to Mathura Devi, to the district of Mathura. And so by seeing the example of the devotees, these pure devotees, and then trying to practice what they're showing us, this can help us to feel Krishna's presence in our life. And so like here we have Srila Shukadeva Goswami offering obeisances to Krishna before he is going into, what was the question again? I think Maharaj Parikshit was asking about creation.
He asked about the creative energies of the Lord.
Yeah, exactly. So Maharaj Parikshit is asking about the creation of the Lord, or creation of just creation. And before Shukadeva Goswami answers the question, he's offering his obeisances. He's offering his obeisances to Krishna. So, oh wait, actually, oh yeah, no, okay, yeah, it is Shukadeva Goswami offering obeisances. So again, it's really nice that this whole process is very systematic, and how it might seem like the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's not just straight philosophy. It's not like, what is it called? Brahma Sutra? Is that what it? Yeah, the one where it's like Atato Brahma Jiyasa.
Yeah. The Vedanta Sutra.
Vedanta Sutra. So there's books where it's just straight philosophy and it's just very clear cut. But here we have pastimes, we have personalities, we have things taking place, and it's really, and just that conversation yesterday, that discussion yesterday, helped me get a deeper appreciation for what it means to hear about Krishna's devotees and what it means to try to follow their example. Because by trying to follow their example, it's helping us in our own spiritual life and in our own relationship with Krishna. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Great, very good comments. Abby, would you like to add anything to the discussion?
No, I'm sorry. I'm just listening.
Well,
I just wanted to add, if it's okay, that Govinda, that was a total super soul moment, because I had meant to say something about this verse in context, how he's offering like he's offering prayers before he answers the question. And you brought that up, and because I had totally forgotten about that because I got lost in the points of the purport. And so I love these moments where like Krishna just makes something happen anyway, even when you forget about it. So yeah, it's also nice to look at these verses in context of what's going on, so we don't get lost. And really overall what's happening here is Shukadeva Goswami is offering prayers to the Supreme Personality Godhead before he answers the question. So he's showing us the proper way for speaking philosophy on Bhagavatam, like everybody does before class. We're all like, "Oh my god, yeah," like that.
Well, I think it just shows that that we must trust the source. If we're going to wait until all of the explanations before we offer obeisances, it's like, well, we're not sure, so we're going to decide later whether or not we really trust the source, and whether or not we really surrender to this philosophy, or this explanation of the world. But here it's very clear by offering the obeisances first that the source is already trusted. It's a trusted source. So.
And I was just
Oh, go ahead, Prabhu.
I was just thinking that as you were saying, Luanga Prabhu, that yeah, we offer obeisances too. Like before we do our class and all that, we say, yeah, we could say our Mangalacharan and the obeisances of Prabhupada. But I guess in my experience, it makes me think of like a 5-year-old who's repeating Bhagavad Gita verses. Like they're saying the verses, but they don't really know what they're saying. They're just repeating it. And so it's like, for me, I guess I've been saying Mangalacharan, I've been offering obeisances, but I guess it's like the understanding is getting a little deeper of what it is that I'm repeating.
Because ultimately, it's all like the knowledge itself is coming from Krishna. This is transcendental knowledge, so it can really pierce the soul of the listener when one is in that connection with Krishna, instead of just trying to repeat verbatim. So Krishna has the right to reveal himself, and sometimes, like maybe you'll notice in preaching, or at least I've noticed sometimes, going out on book distribution or whatever, sometimes it's really hard to like even say the basic philosophy to someone, even though like I know it, but it's just not coming. And I asked some of my gurus, like, why does this happen? Why is it sometimes so easy to speak to some people? And I'm just getting these like realizations where I don't know where they're coming from. And then other times I can't even spit out like we're not this body to someone. And they told me that's because the knowledge is not really coming from you, it's coming from Krishna, and Krishna reserves the right to reveal himself to someone. So if someone is actually like really envious, he's not going to reveal himself. So really what we're doing when we offer these prayers to Krishna is that we're praying that Krishna reveals himself through us, that the knowledge can come through us, from our parampara.
Which goes back to the quote from the verse that says Krishna is always a problem for the non-devotees. But I'd like to engage Abby in the conversation. Would you like to read the next verse if you have no further comment on this verse?
Okay, yes, Hare Krishna. I will read the next verse.
Text 15.
Okay. Yat kirtanam, yat smaranam, yat ikshanam, yat vadanam, yat shravanam, yat arhanam, vilkasya sadyo vidunoti kamasam, tasmai subhadra shravese namo namaha. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the all-auspicious Lord Sri Krishna, about whom glorification, remembrances, audience, prayers, hearing, and worship can at once cleanse the effects of all sins of the performer. Should I read the purport? It's short.
Yes, please.
Okay. The purport. The sublime form form of religious performances to free oneself from all reactions of sins is suggested herein by the greatest authority, Sri Shukadev Goswami. Kirtanam, or glorifying the Lord, can be performed in very many ways, such as remembering, visiting temples to see the deity, offering prayers in front of the Lord, and hearing recitations of glorification of the Lord mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. Kirtanam can be performed both by singing the glories of the Lord in accompaniment with melodious music and by recitation of scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. The devotees need not be disappointed in the physical absence of the Lord, though they may think of not being associated with him. The devotional process of chanting, hearing, remembering, etc., either all or some of them or even one of them, can give us the desired result of associating with the Lord by discharging the transcendental loving service of the Lord in the above manner. Even the very sound of the holy name of Lord Krishna or Rama can at once surcharge the atmosphere spiritually. We must know definitely that the Lord is present wherever such transcendental service is performed. And thus the former of offenseless kirtanam has positive association with the Lord. Similarly, remembrance prayers also can give us desired result if they are properly done under expert guidance. Do not concoct forms of devotional service. One may worship the form of the Lord in a temple, or one may impersonally offer the Lord devotional prayers in a mosque or a church. One is sure to get free from the reactions of sins provided one is very careful about not committing sins willingly in expectation of getting free from the reactions by worshiping in the temple or by offering prayers in the church. This mentality of committing sins willfully on the strength of devotional service is called Namno Balad Yasahi Papa Buddhihi, and it is the greatest offense in the discharge of devotional service. Hearing, therefore, is essential in order to keep oneself strictly on guard against such pitfalls of sins. And in order to give special stress to the hearing process, the Goswami invokes all auspicious fortune in this matter.
Please just repeat the verse itself, the translation.
Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the all-auspicious Lord Sri Krishna, about whom glorification, remembrances, audience, prayers, hearing, and worship once cleanse the effects of all sins of the performer.
Would you like to comment?
Yeah, I can say something. I guess one thing I really liked is one should not concoct forms of devotional service. So I mean, yeah, it's like I guess pretty clear, like what we're supposed to be doing. There's a really like a morning program, evening program, um, you know, I don't know. I don't really want to speak. I'm sorry. I don't want to speak.
Well, that's fine. That's a very good thing to notice. And what sticks out to me is the fact that when we're chanting or singing, doing kirtan or whatever, that the Lord is just present there. The Lord is present in his name, in the Mahamantra. The Lord is present. So even if we feel like we're not connected to the Lord by performing these things, by doing kirtan, for instance, we are with the Lord. The Lord is just automatically there. It's just like the most natural and easy way for us to make a connection when we feel like maybe our connection is lost or non-existent. Because just by saying these things and chanting these things, singing these things, that is bringing the Lord into this realm, into our presence, or we're bringing ourselves into the Lord's presence. So that's what strikes me about this verse. Next.
This purport is beautiful, actually, and I was thinking of what to comment on first. But I think the first thing that struck out to me is that this kind of goes back to, I think, what Govinda kind of mentioned in the last verse about how feeling very far away from Krishna. You were saying something about that, and while you're reading, I was thinking about that because Prabhupada literally mentions here that Krishna is present. When we're doing these forms of devotional service, like this is so beautiful. The devotees need not to be disappointed in the physical absence of the Lord, though they may think of not being associated with him. The devotional process of chanting, caring, remembering, etc., either all or some of them, or even one of them, can give us the desired result of associating with the Lord by discharging the transcendental living service of the Lord in the above manner. And he's talking, and then the other thing that I appreciate about this verse is that I'm trying to find it where Prabhupada said, Prabhupada also takes a more, I guess you could say, liberal form to a liberal point of view when it comes to connecting with the Lord, because he said, one may worship the form of the Lord in a temple, or one may impersonally offer the Lord devotional prayers in a mosque or a church. One is sure to get free from the reactions of sin, provided one is very careful about not committing sins willingly. So I also thought that was really sweet how Prabhupada even expands this to include other religions, saying that they also can have this connection with the Lord. However, he does says that it's more impersonal, and we can see if we study like Christianity and Islam in general, it is a more impersonal religion because they don't have, and I even some of them might have an idea that the Lord is a person, certain people, but they don't really have um, any description of what he's like. And even amongst that, there is some debate. I remember being a kid, and I was in the bed one night, and I was hearing my mom and my mother and father discuss what they both thought God was like, how they both perceived God. And it was like one of those things where you're supposed to be asleep, but you're not asleep, And so I remember my dad saying, "Oh, I see God as like this light," and my mom would say, "I see God like this man, like this really like kind of older, very very sweet, very merciful man." But so even though they have some conception of God, it's not complete. However, Prabhupada does include this as a bona fide way to connect with God. And it reminded me of what I heard in a lecture with Srila Prabhupada, where he even actually said that the Christians were Vaishnavas. He expanded that point of view. He actually, oh, they're Vaishnavas because eventually, they'll reach the ultimate goal. Of course, he did criticize them for meat eating. I think that was his only criticism of Christianity, was that they ate meat. But it's very sweet, sometimes, or at least for me, I appreciate how, Prabhupada sometimes he expands, the Christian consciousness to include, other spiritualities, which shows the non-sectarian nature of Vaishnavism.
Yeah, on that note, I just read, I think I'm getting the books a little bit mixed up. It's either Message of Godhead or Civilization and Transcendence. One of the books where Prabhupada, again, I thought Paramahamsa only referred to devotees, um, and then he used the word acharya, and I thought again acharyas only refer to Vaishnav, the not necessarily just like Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya, but at least like these four schools of Vaishnavism. I thought acharya only referred to these four; they were exclusive to these four schools. But Prabhupada, he wrote that there's Christian acharyas, but there's Muslim acharyas, and so it makes sense that if these teachers are following the principles, then they are considered acharyas. I think he even said like the Jesus's disciples, like his apostles. I think he even put like Saint John or Saint, I don't remember who exactly he said, but he says that these are acharyas, they are Christian acharyas. So that falling in line with how Prabhupada expands it to include these other religions. So that you made me think of that, Lavanga Prabhu. And yeah, and then what you mentioned at the beginning, that stood out to me too, where Prabhupada was basically answering my he was clearing my woe, my doubt that the devotees shouldn't feel disappointed if Krishna's not there. Um, and then the second part of it too, where he says that the devotional process of chanting, hearing, remembering, etc. I thought that it was interesting. He said can. He said can give us the desired result of associating, because that made me think of the other thing that you said too, where why don't you feel, or why is it so difficult to preach or to share knowledge about Krishna and book distribution for some people and then not for others? And then the answer that you got was that, well, it's Krishna. He's revealing it, or he's choosing not to reveal it. And so it made me think of being being connected with this sentence too, where we can hear, we can chant, we can remember, but it's not necessarily a given that it's going to give us the result of associating with the Lord, because Krishna is not obliged. He can come and give us his association, but he doesn't have to. I would just think that if it was like a guarantee, that it would say it will, that the devotional process of chanting, hearing, remembering, etc., will give us the desired result. But instead, he said can. So it made me think of that Krishna can choose to come if we're chanting or if we're hearing. He can choose to make it known that he's here.
Yeah.
And then yeah, and then the last point is that on that same note is that in the standards of kirtan that Jayadvaita Maharaj wrote, or compiled, in the foreword or the introduction, or Madhava Prabhu's introduction, he brings up a point where in kirtan, even the leader of the kirtan, he may feel that wasn't really the good kirtan. Like I felt really not connected with the holy name, and I did what I could. But then someone who was in the audience, who was someone in the audience could say, "Wow, that was an amazing kirtan. That was like it was like so ecstatic." And so, how can that disconnect be there if the kirtaniya leading it, and then the devotee in the audience, they were at the same kirtan? Then how can it be that the leader was feeling disconnected, but the devotee in the audience felt like he could feel the power of the holy name? And so Madhava Prabhu, he also makes a point that, well, it's a holy name can choose who it's revealing itself to, who he's revealing himself to. And maybe for some reason he wasn't revealing himself to the kirtaniya, but he was definitely revealing himself to the devotee who was responding. So just that theme of revealing, I think, it's something nice to meditate on. At least for me, I think something to meditate on today, of how is Krishna revealing himself? Is he revealing himself? What am I doing that's maybe encouraging him to realize to reveal himself more? Or what am I doing that's making him not want to reveal himself because he's trying to show me I have to change something or learn something? So
That's a very interesting point, Govinda. I would just like to add the thought, which that perhaps Krishna is always present in the holy name, but we ourselves are not always receptive to that presence. You know, maybe our mind is somewhere else, or maybe we've committed offenses or whatever, and we might not be receptive, but he is in fact present in the holy name, just as his effulgence is present in all of the light around of us. We
mm,
may not be receptive to that or understand that or be ready to accept it, but he is indeed present there. Maybe so. Yeah, so I understand your point, but I would just like kind of like to add this to it. What do you think, Mother Lavanga?
I would like to put both your points together. Because what you're both saying is actually like true, you know, like Krishna is always present in his holy name. We may not be receptive to it. And at the same time, we know that this process is not a mechanical process, you know, where we can just, you know, have, because even we see in Goloka Vrindavan, you know, the gopis are the topmost devotees, but even Krishna disappears from them from time to time, you know. So it could be also, I've heard it said from other you know, gurus in our movement that sometimes Krishna wants to, you know, he won't always reveal himself in the way that you want him to reveal himself. You know, he's not always going to give you these ecstatic emotions because he's wanting, you know, he's wanting you to kind of sometimes beg a little bit, or he's wanting to see your sincerity, or, you know, he's wanting other, it could be also things like that because he's also a person himself. So, you know, he's not anyone's order supplier. So I think you know, just looking at it from different angles, you know, it's a both type of thing, you know, like at the same time we have to do our part, you know, to be receptive to the holy name, but we can't expect Krishna all the time just to reveal himself in the way that we're wanting him to reveal himself. However, I have heard it said by many devotees also, and I will add this as well, that sometimes when we're really struggling in Krishna consciousness and we're just not getting anything out of our japa, we're like, why am I doing this? Like I've had a few devotees tell me, if you pray to Krishna, like, you know, I'm not feeling enthusiastic. I don't even know why I'm chanting. Or like, please, you know, like reveal yourself to me. You know, then Christian will usually come and like he'll give you some encouragement in some way. You know, so but you know, there's this thing that's said that we have to, you know, cry. You know, cry for the holy name. And I think Guru Govinda Maharaj also mentioned that, you know, you have to cry for a bona fide spiritual master because you have to really desire a bona fide spiritual master, and you also have to cry for for the holy name for Krishna. So sometimes, you know, Krishna wants to see us cry.
Yeah, it's not so easy any way you look at it. You know, Krishna's there, but how do we connect? And will he reveal himself? Yes, it gets a little complicated. But so we've reached the 1 hour point, and we've discussed two verses. I think unless there are some further comments on today's verses, and well, there's a connection between them, of course, but which we've all discussed a little bit. Does anybody have any more comments on these verses before we close up?
They were both really like good verses. I mean, you know, so it's like even 1 hour doesn't do them justice.
yeah, just to appreciate, just expressing an appreciation. I thought the discussion was really nice and really, I feel like we were really churning the nectar here. So, uh, yeah, that's
Very,
all I wanted to add.
yes, very good. And we do our best. You know, we're trying to understand this and trying to transmit it to those who are following us. But of course, what we really want is Guru Dev to answer some of our questions. We would like to hear his opinions on these things. So I want you all to bear in mind that Manunatha Maharaj is very active in making videos almost on a daily basis, but most of them are in Spanish because most of the questions he receives are in Spanish. And if you submit questions, they could be saved for a video conference in the beginning of October, or he could choose to just go ahead and answer them and at his own convenience at any hour of the day, where if you happen to be following, you could join in. Otherwise, you could just watch the videos later on YouTube, Kishori Kunda, which we will also include, and all of these videos are also included in the chats in English and Spanish and in the Facebook pages. Right now, I'd like to promote the Ishvara Archive Facebook page where I indeed post the videos the next day. But Manunatha Dasa also posts on the Manunatha Dasa page as well. So, uh, submit questions, please. Think about it. It could be these things that we're discussing in the Srimad Bhagavatam, or it could be any type of question from any source, any reason. Submit the questions either in the public chat or in a private message, and he always gets back to us. Okay, and we are very fortunate to have a live avatar of Krishna, that connection to that will respond to every question that we make. So please do this. And having said that, I would like to just close up by thanking you all for being here and for participation and for watching later and for sending questions. And I look forward to seeing you next time, which would be next Friday at the same time. Um, so, Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai.
Jai.
Is it? I just
Yes.
want to ask a question. Is it my turn to lead next week?
Yes, it is, and I'm going to
Okay.
put that in our little private chat, the verse number and who's leading. I do that immediately so that we don't have to look for it next week. It's already
Okay. I'm just making a note of it now.
okay.
Okay.
Good.
Hare
All right.
Krishna, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let me
Hare Krishna, my obeisances. Jai.
Obeisances to Haripur.
Haribol.
Haribo.
And thank you, Abby, also for participating in the way that you have. And I look forward to seeing you next time.